Hip Hop Now podcast with Vegas is brought to you by Revo Network on YouTube. Music, sports, television, video games, and more from our perspective. Find us on YouTube at BROLE Network and subscribe today.
This week on Hip Hop Now podcast, we take a look at a New York Times article that breaks down which artists are popular where in the United States.
But let's get right to business. Read these headlines. This album must be gone. This album must be gone. Classic albums are Come to Hip Hop Podcast.
What up, y'all? I am your host, Vegas, and this is Hip Hop Now Podcast, right here on SoundCloud.com/Hip Hop Now Podcast and DSR.FM, Deaf Star Radio, not death, not as in pass away, but DEF, as in deaf, like deaf, you know what I mean? DEF, Def Jam, like that. Deaf Star Radio. I am your host, Vegas, and this is a podcast designed to catch you up on all things hip-hop music and culture that happened throughout the week. But this is an extra, and what we're going to do is we're going to focus in on one topic at hand, and this topic is really broad in regards to the hip-hop fan base. And let me just break it down real quick. First of all, I want to shout out the New York Times, as well as Hip Hop DX, from which I'm getting some of this information from. But the New York Times did a breakdown, right? They took YouTube's geocoded information from January 2016 to April 2017, and basically put together 50 maps worth of data of where Americans listen to certain musicians or artists. Now, of course, this is a hip-hop program, so we're going to focus exclusively on the hip-hop artists and not necessarily all of them, because honestly, not everybody cares about all of these artists. But the important thing when I said this is going to be broad is the simple fact that regardless if you consider yourself a hip-hop head and you don't really mess with trap music or anybody who's on the radio, you always, like everybody else, have that question of, why is it so popular? Who likes this? Where? Why do I always see this person? Maybe they're not on the radio as much where I am, so why do I hear it all the time? There's a reason for that, and it's you, the fan. And honestly, there's some artists up here who you may care about, but they basically broke down the most popular artists on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. So you know what that is. I'm sorry, but there's just certain artists that will not be here. But I think it's still interesting to get a example of what the country thinks and why. Why? More importantly, why? If you're a person who's been from state to state, it's more important to know, why do I hear this song across the country? Maybe to me, it's not very good. It's not even catchy. Why? There's a lot of whys in there. First of all, you can follow me on social media at VegasWorldINC. That's on Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter, of course. Twitter, I'm heavy on Twitter, mostly with the sports, but there's other stuff there. Also, if you like Facebook, and Facebook is what you do, it's the place you like to be, all your peoples is there, you can like the page. Facebook.com/hip-hop right now. Facebook.com/hip-hop right now. If you enjoy the content that I provide free of charge to you. Yes, you over there with the greens. And y'all remember y'all ever saw Perfect Gentleman? Eddie Murphy? No, it wasn't Perfect Gentleman. Distinguished Gentleman. I'm diverting from the subject at hand, but let's get into this article. This breakdown of popular artists in certain areas, and number one on the list, and I don't think it was because he had more fans than anybody else, but number one on the list via the New York Times article was Future, right? And when you look at the map, and you can go to the New York Times and look it up. Let me see if I have the address right here. I don't. Come on, iPad. It's in the section called The Upshot. And the name of the article is What Music Do Americans Love the Most? 50 Detailed Fan Maps. And it's by Josh Katz, Katz. Shout out to him. This article just came out. But let's look at Future, though. Future, we know we hear Future everywhere, right? I'm in the New York City area. I hear a lot of Future on the radio. I know a lot of people who like him. And the map kind of shows that, but it does show that Future is way more popular as you go southeast of the United States. Future is extremely popular. But if you look on the West Coast, and more importantly, the Midwest, not so much. So you that cries when you turn on the radio and it's like, yo, Future again, it's only because in your area, Future is pretty popular. But in these other areas, I doubt he's getting as many spins. I doubt he's even doing shows in some of these areas. So I'm sorry, you're going to have Kevin Gates, not a lot of people like him. Or I won't say that. There aren't a lot of people who are probably listening to this podcast that like him or know of him. But Kevin Gates is a dude, and he's cool. He's whatever. He's a little bit different from Future. He's not that big where I'm from. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't really have that much traction. But when you go south and you go middle America, Kevin Gates is pretty big. And near Texas also. On the West Coast, not so much, which is interesting. Drake. Now, Drake, his is really unique. His map is really unique. He's number 13 if you're trying to follow along. It's really interesting because of the simple fact that Drake is damn near popular everywhere. Honestly, he is popular in Cali. He's really popular in Texas and New Mexico. He's somewhat popular in the South. He's very popular in the New York City metropolitan area. And you know what? It makes a lot of sense when you think about it as it relates to Drake's popularity, right? Even though when you look at the map, he's not really dominating like a whole East Coast or West Coast. But in the markets of media like New York and California, he has a strong following. And that's really important for your brand because it's kind of like he doesn't necessarily have to go to a lot of those other places because he's so strong in the main spots, Hollywood and New York City. Like, so it's kind of crazy to look at that. And obviously there are some spots where he's not as popular. And what's ironic is they're the areas that are closest to Canada, which you would think he would be pretty popular in. What is this? I believe this is Rhode Island or Maine. I'm not sure. I forgot, man. It's been a long time. What state is that at the top? If you from there, just let me know. Like, yeah, yo, Vegas, it's Rhode Island, man. Come on, fam. Don't forget about us. He's not very popular there. In a couple of Midwest spots, he's not popular at all. The Dakotas is light. Minnesota, it looks a little light for for Drake, which is you would think. But he's big in Nevada, again, Texas, New York City. Pretty interesting to look at that. Post Malone, a cat that I really don't care for, kind of has the same vibe, but his is a little bit better in the sense, he's number 29 on the list, by the way. A little bit better than Drake's as far as how I was saying Drake is kind of his popularity is spread out. Post Malone is the same thing. He's heavy in Cali. He's heavy in New York. He's heavy in the South. He's heavy in the not Central America, but the Midwest. Not all of it. there's some dry spots there. There's a dry spot there where I'm starting to believe by looking at this map of the United States that they don't like hip hop out there. You know what I'm saying? Because it's looking really crazy now. Kansas, yeah, they get down with it, but that's the central states. But as you move a little bit closer to the West Coast before you get there, it's really dry for him. So I'm noticing everybody who I mentioned thus far, yeah, like going through. Let's see, Drake, it's light there for him. Kevin Gates, and Kevin Gates got a little bit there. Future is damn near empty. Now, what does that say about not necessarily, or maybe we'll break that down afterwards. But think about not them not liking hip hop, but the fact that I look at Futures and it's damn near white, right? I look at Drake's and it's still some really white spots in there. And Post Malone is a big blotch there. But then let's look at Kendrick Lamar, who's listed at number 32. Kendrick also is kind of spread out in regards to his popularity. But when you look at his map, he's not as big on the East Coast as I thought. Interesting. And it's kind of, because I'm obviously, if you listen to this podcast, I'm an advocate for Kendrick. But there's not many, like it's really spotty on the East Coast. In the South, in the North, New York and Jersey is spotty. He looks like around the D.C. area, Virginia area. He popping a little bit. But it gets crazy once you get to the central states where Kendrick is popular from there all the way to Cali, of course, where he's most popular. But it's like he has half the country. It's damn near dark, half the country that really likes him. Now, that's interesting from the standpoint of, the East Coast style of hip-hop for the most part, not the South. But, it's hard to even say this now because you got New York rappers who dumb down their lyrics. But let's just say, for history's sake, the majority of the time, East Coast, whether that be New York, Philly, for the most part, are about lyrical skill, right? We need lyrical skill. That's how we measure you. And southern states and Midwest and the West Coast, for the most part, they're about lyrical skill. Don't sleep. I'm not saying they aren't. I'm just saying as far as the majority, some of the casual hip hop fans really care more about music that speaks to their truths, whether that be riding in a whip, going to wherever. They really not necessarily want lyrics that are dumbed down. They just don't want to think a lot when it comes to listening to the music. They want to groove. They just want to groove for the most part. And when you think about Kendrick's music, that's kind of the foundation of his music. It's heavy on groove, whether it's the beats or the various flows that he displays. It's definitely heavy on the grooves. And I think that has a lot to do with it. But it's just kind of surprising to see that Kendrick's not really as popular in the East as I thought. Also, a couple of people who I'm not really going to break down, but J. Cole gets more love. J. Cole, who's from Virginia, gets more love on the West Coast, which includes Arizona and New Mexico. Strange. It's kind of strange because, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say strange, but J. Cole is another example of a really lyrical, really conscious, like Kendrick, artist, and you would think they would be popular almost anywhere, to be honest. But they seem to be way more popular out there in the central states and in the West Coast. Now, it makes me wonder if they tend to do more shows out there. Now, of course, if you're more popular out there, then hell yeah, why wouldn't you? You could do as many shows as you want because it's guaranteed to be packed. It's guaranteed to make more money because it's a guarantee that a lot of people will come out. But if you're not that popular in a certain market, like for example, like like I was saying with Future, and he's coming to, New York City. Sure, maybe he could do a couple of spots, but he ain't doing Madison Square Garden by itself. Not at all. It will be empty in there. So this is really interesting. I hope you're taking your notes. People who say, yo, why this always on the radio? Why this person so popular? Why this person doesn't get enough shine? It may depend on where you live. Another one, and this is probably one that I wasn't shocked by, but I kind of am. And it's Eminem. He comes in at number 11. And Eminem is extremely popular in the Midwest, the Central states, and mostly the northern states, east to west, which is crazy. In the South, they don't rock with Eminem at all, looking at this map. Some people do, because it's not completely white. But the southern states, for the most part, on the East Coast, aren't really big Eminem fans at all. And that is interesting. And let's look at the New York City market. It's spotty, which makes sense because I kind of feel that's the kind of vibe that Eminem has. There are people, like I mentioned in my past podcasts on SoundCloud.com/HipHopNowPodcast, Eminem seems to have this. There's a bunch of dudes who love him and say he's one of the greatest of all time, and there's a bunch of dudes who don't see the hype. And this map is kind of, as far as, the New York City metropolitan area, and just the East Coast, period. Philly, Maryland, all of that. It tends to suggest that not a lot of people are that into Eminem. Now, it makes me wonder, though, given the time frame that they ran this study, which was January 2016 to April 2017, begs the question, what music did some of these artists have out at the time? Because if you're tracking YouTube's geocoded information from those dates, I think it depends on what was out for certain people. And I think these maps reflect that. So it may not be what you think. Now, real quick, just want to take a quick intermission just to say that if you enjoy this podcast, guess what? I do videos also. And coming soon, this podcast will also run as a video. So you can see all my facial expressions and, because if I sound pissed, I'm getting pissed. If I sound happy, I'm getting happy. If I'm telling a joke, maybe I'm smiling or maybe I'm not. Who knows? You'll never know. But the thing is it's called the B-Roll Network. B, the letter B, R-O-L-E Network. B-R-O-L-E Network. B-Roll Network on YouTube. This isn't just a network about hip-hop. Obviously, I have my playlist, the Hip Hop Now playlist, where not only will you find episodes of this podcast and eventually it will be video, but right now it's audio. You will also find a segment I like to do that's called the what did I call it? I'm forgetting now. The Rap Game. That's what it's called. The Rap Game. And that particular series of videos is me casually talking about something related to hip hop while I play video games. I know a lot of people like to watch people play video games. I know a lot of people like to hear that person talk, let alone see them. I don't have a camera yet, but I'll get that. Don't worry. But nevertheless, there are things that I don't get to cover in this podcast whether that be album reviews or whatever, that I do get to cover when I do the rap game. I also do a segment called One to Flow On, which was my original podcast. It originated on radio, where I basically broke down a particular topic, but this is in short form, no longer than 10 minutes at the most, video about whatever topic. So check out the latest one I did. You can check that out, honestly, and get to that and more content via the Death Star Radio app. But real quick, there are other things. There are other podcasts related to sports. There's other podcasts related to television and film, as well as video games. My son has a channel or a playlist where he plays video games, whether, you like sports, shooters, whatever it may be. We play games, we try to beat them, whatever. Sometimes we look bad playing them. Sometimes we look like gods. It's pretty dope. So if you play video games, you may like it. But you can get to all of this by either searching for the B-Roll Network on YouTube, BROLE Network, or if you're using the Death Star Radio app right now, you will see a link, a photo, and a link. The logo of the B-Roll Network is right there. You click on that, and you will see some of my videos that you can access via the Death Star Radio app. So, just to let you know, the Death Star Radio app is free of charge. Free. All of this is free. All of this culture, all this hip-hop, all this knowledge is free. It's on your iOS. That's your Apple device, whether that be a phone or iPad, and it's on your Android device, or if you are the type to be like, man, I just got a laptop, fam, but how can I listen? You can go to dsr.fm and check it out. The B-Roll Network. Support, subscribe, comment on the whatever. You know what to do. Hit the thumbs down, hit the thumbs up. I don't care, man. Get active, all right? Don't just listen. Get active and share with those who have the same interests that you have in this music, this culture, and this content, period. But yeah, I'm going to be playing some games later, so y'all stay tuned for that. But yeah, the thing I wanted to say, looking at, these maps and, let's do this for fun, though. Let's do this for fun, right? So we went over Future, Kevin Gates, Drake, Eminem, Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, right? Kind of some of the popular dudes that are at the forefront of rap, whether you like it or not. But for fun, let's go to some of those individuals who some hip-hop fans, hip-hop heads, really have a problem with. I'm scrolling through. I'm trying to get there, fam. Migos. Let's look at Migos map. They are listed at number 12, right? Yes, they are dressed like Prince in the Revolution, but that's besides the point. Migos, as you would know, are extremely popular on the East Coast in the South. Extremely popular. As far as where I am, the New York City metropolitan area, it looks like they're more popular than Future was, which is kind of amazing. Again, the central states, it gets light, and then they're popular in Cali. That's interesting for that crew of individuals, but it's whatever. But it begs the question, because I talked to a couple of people, through social media who are across the country in different areas, some not even in the country. And they all say the same thing sometimes, like, why the hell are they popular? Well, fam, it's probably where you live. Kodak Black, same deal. Extremely popular in the South and Florida. New York City metro area, not so much. Cali, kind of popular. Midwest, damn near dead. Damn near nobody. Now, I don't know if they're not playing it out there like that, but judging by this map, it doesn't seem like they really care. They don't listen to it. Lil Uzi Vert, he's in at number 28. Again, if you dipped out or missed something, I'm reading this from the New York Times article that you could check out. I'll repeat that, but Lil Uzi Vert, right? He's at number 28. In Cali, he's all right. In the Midwest, he's damn near dead. They don't really listen to him, whether they like him or just don't hear him. In the South, he's okay. Not as good as Migos and who else did I name? Not as good as Migos, Future, and Kodak Black, but he does have a nice Southern audience. But more surprisingly, Lil Uzi Vert is really popular as you come up north to the New York City metropolitan area. Not dominating, but he has a strong following in there. Philly, Baltimore, Maryland, D.C. He's kind of got the East Coast, and he got a nice little following. So if you in the Midwest and you like, damn man, I wanna go to this Lil Uzi Vert concert. Well, sorry. Now, of course, if you didn't know, he is a Philadelphia-based rapper. Yeah. You thought he was from the South with the purse in his hand, right? Nope. He is not. He is from Philly. Yep, where Beanie Siegel, you know what I'm saying, the Roots, yeah, where all of them are from. You can also claim Lil Uzi Vert. Gucci Mane, big in the South, across the country for the most part. Not as big in New York. That's crazy because I hear a lot of people talk about him like, they love him, but they really don't. Same thing, kind of weak in Cali also. Khaled is big on the East Coast, South, somewhat up north, but he is practically dead in the Midwest. Again, I mentioned Big Sean. Big Sean is big in Cali. Jesus, yeah, Cali is his market. I don't know why though, but it's whatever. That's my personal opinion. It doesn't matter. Let's go through real quick. And they don't only have hip hop artists up here, by the way. It's a lot of other artists, Imagine Dragons, Adele, a lot of the more popular artists. Again, J. Cole basically J. Cole has the same map, damn near identical to Kendrick's. What's up with that? Lady Gaga's on here. Let's see who else. We get into 50. Travis Scott, I don't even consider him a rapper. Lil Yachty. This is who I really wanted to look at. Lil Yachty is big in the South. He's dead in the Midwest. Got a little bit in Cali, a little bit in Texas. Up north over here, he's okay. It's pretty interesting. Now, the point I brought up that I wanted to say real quick about the time frame that makes these maps interesting is, were these artists actively promoting albums at the time? And I think this is reflective. I know this is reflective of that. So, thinking about the Kendrick joint makes sense. Kendrick had a new album out, but it seems like he was a little bit more popular from the central states onto the West Coast, which is very interesting. But like I was saying with Eminem hasn't had an album out in a while. So I wonder if when he releases his album, if this map would be any different, given the fact that it seemed like as far as the southern states across the country, Eminem wasn't that popular at all. And the same thing with the East Coast, the Phillies and the New York City and, the D.C., Maryland, Virginia. He didn't seem to be as popular as he was in the rest of the country. So I think it begs the question of, what do you like? Do you like any of these artists that were mentioned? Where are you? What part of the country are you located in? You can leave your comments in the comment sections. I would love to know what it is, where you are as far as who's hot, who's being played all over the radio, what your friends are listening to. Because according to this map, which is a small snapshot of what's what, it's a big snapshot. I can't say small, but the simple fact that artists don't release albums every year, everybody's singles not popping at the same time. But I thought it was cool, right? Y'all thought it was cool. Leave your comments in the comment section below. That's going to do it for me for this week. You can follow me on social media at Vegas World INC. You can follow the YouTube page, the B-Roll Network, letter B, ROLE Network on YouTube, and keep listening to this program right here on SoundCloud.com/hiphopnowpodcast and on DSR.FM, Death Star Radio. Until next week, y'all, I am not a critic, I'm a fan. Peace. Drop it on the random.